Hi, this is Brad from Pro Wrestling Junkies, and welcome to another episode of Toilet Side Wrestling Talk. Today's guest hails from Sunset Beach, Hawaii, and began wrestling in 1970. Trained under Dean Ho, Ivan Koloff, James Blears, and has worked for such promotions as NWA, AWA, WWF, New Japan, ECW, to name a few. Along the way, he's held the NWA Georgia Heavyweight Championship, the NWA Tag Team Championships, the NWA Hawaii Heavyweight Championship, the WWF Intercontinental Championship, the ECW Heavyweight Championship, and was also the first ever WWF King of the Ring winner when he beat the Iron Sheik. Shared the ring with the likes of Dusty Rhodes, Jimmy Snuka, Tito Santana, Pedro Morales, Ricky Steamboat, Pat Patterson, to name a few. In 2004, he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. So, from Sunset Beach, Hawaii, led to the ring by either the Grand Wizard or Superstar Billy Graham or Captain Lou Albano or Mr. Fuji, I give you the magnificent Don Muraco. Hey, Don, how are you?
Hello. That was a lot of memories there, a lot of cast of characters.
I know, like I could watch that stuff all day long. Did you remember any of that, like being in the ring for any of those clips?
A couple of them, but it's the people that the guys that I was with that bring up all the memories.
Was there a certain point in your career where you could name everybody you've been in the ring with?
Well, early, yeah, in my early career. But
Yeah, but then when did it start getting like, all right, I can't do this? Was it when you went to WWF or in your NWA days?
Well, probably, NWA. Probably a little while after I left AWA. But then there were a lot of guys coming through Hawaii too.
Yeah.
At the time.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time in Hawaii. And a lot of guys at that time were coming back and forth through Japan and Australia.
Oh, okay.
And then now I was in Vancouver with when I first broke in, Vancouver, BC. There was a cast of characters up there, and Portland. I was back and forth between there and Portland, Don Owens territory. My very start of the very start of my career. So I spent time there.
You grew up in Sunset Beach?
I grew up in town, Honolulu.
Okay. And
Yeah.
when you were like a little boy, was there a big like wrestling scene where you were living?
Oh yeah. Not so much when I was real young, but later on in my my junior high school, probably even before that, Ed Francis and Lord James Blears, they ran the promotion after Al Karasik originally, and that was like pre-TV, pre-television, but the magazines and the publications and stuff were pretty good here, and they ran in an old building that was kind of a legendary hometown. They called it the Civic Auditorium.
Okay.
It was right in the middle of downtown with the cigar smoke and the rings and it seated maybe 3,000 to 5,000 people.
Oh,
and it was a landmark. It is today.
is it still up?
No, it's been gone
Oh, okay.
for quite a few years. But it's one of the famous landmarks. Previously, around Hawaii, that the rock concerts and roller derby, and of course professional wrestling. A lot of other stuff went down there. It was just a congenial home for everybody.
When did wrestling come onto your radar?
Young. My parents, my folks took me and watching it. I guess my mom and grandmother liked to, followed the wrestling, and they knew guys old Tom Rice and Hans Schnabel and names like that. That I never even had the privilege of meeting and knowing. But then they took me, and I went with a kid. And I took, and I liked it. I watched it, and Jimmy Blears. I used to surf with him and his dad, Lord James Blears. He was a big promoter around here, so it was easy, to get to know, And then I hurt my hip when I was a kid. I had surgery, so I ended up training at Dean Higuchi's gym. Dean Ho, who wrestled WWF back in the old days, was World Tag Team Championship. And Dean had a gym, and Kalakaua Avenue is the main avenue that goes right through Waikiki.
Okay.
It's where everything, all the hotels, all the big Oscar de la Renta and Pierre Cardin, all the stores. It's like place in Rodeo Drive.
Yeah,
it's similar, not exactly, but more touristy. But where all the hotels and sure. But his gym was right at the beginning of Waikiki, and before it was as glamorous as it is now, of course. But the gym was right at the beginning of Waikiki, and all the wrestlers in those days, the wrestlers would go 4 to 6 weeks to Japan and 4 to 6 weeks to Australia, and they'd have crews and groups that go, and normally they'd stop back in Hawaii and spend some of their money because everybody's on a weekly contract, and if they'd get booked there, they could write it all off. It's a tax thing. So the family would come out, and so they'd make a vacation of it. So, and meantime, it was right in Waikiki where they were staying. Mm-hmm. So they were all training at Dean's gym, and then most of the guys were working out in those days. Even then, they were well ahead. Wrestlers were, well ahead of their day. So they were all working out. So I got to meet a lot of them, a lot of the guys.
And were you just like a teenager?
Yeah, I had hip surgery when I was 12. So about 13. Yeah, 12, 13. When I started training down there, and all the guys would come through, and the guy, and a few were regulars, Beauregard and Lou Shoulders Newman. Carl Gotch was there a lot.
Oh, wow.
Luther Lindsay. Some real good guys. George Catalina Drake. I don't know if you remember that name, but he was a big he wrestled. He traveled with Dez a lot. And he was a
When you were that age, when you were 13, were you big enough where people knew not to mess with you yet?
Well, yeah, with the kids and stuff, but that was
well, that's why I did to make sure, the other kids around, so
they were full grown men in that gym. They were. I was a wrestling dummy for Gotch and Luther Lindsay and a few of those guys.
Would they say just come into the ring?
No, they had little gray mats, those little thin little gray mats.
Yeah.
They used to throw on the floor, and if somebody was going through and ask them a stupid wrestling question or something, they'd, Muraco, come over here, and they'd hook me up and tie me up until I started crying, and show the guy what kind of but
I guess it's easier to do it on a young person than an older person, I suppose. Oh my God, so. Were your parents aware of that happening?
Oh, probably. And I never mentioned it. No.
Okay.
I mean, it was a weightlifting gym. It was a workout. It wasn't a boxing wrestling gym. It was a weight training gym. So,
but they didn't know you were getting stretched or like
no,
used as the example. So did you? When did you like kind of decide that you wanted like to pursue this? So I'm sure you went to high school, and then when did you say?
I went away to JC for a couple of years.
Okay.
And I was supposed to come back and play football for University of Hawaii.
Oh wow!
And I was living with three of my friends, Jimmy Blair's again. Three of my friends underneath. We had a basement. It wasn't even a basement. It was underground house in up in Kaimiki, up in Honolulu, and just surfing. And I never made it to football. And Tally Ho said, "What are you doing? You're just knocking around. You want to go to?" So Sandor Kovacs, who was a co-promoter with Gene Knitsky in Vancouver, was over the house, over at Tally Ho. He had a place in Waikiki, and guys used to go, and Lee Blears would make teriyaki chicken, soya chicken, or her spaghetti, and eat. And she was. They had Sandor over for the night, and he said, "What are you doing with yourself, kid? What are you gonna do? You want to be a wrestler?" And big guy. I said, "Yeah, sure." That was it. A couple weeks later, I was on a plane on my way to Vancouver.
Oh my!
And yeah.
Had you left Honolulu prior to this?
I've been away to school for a couple. I've been away to college.
Okay.
For a couple of years, yeah. But it was I'm in California, so I'd never really spent a lot of time in snow or anything.
Oh, okay.
It was a trip,
Did you start your training in Vancouver?
Completely, yeah.
And were you flying over, from Hawaii to Vancouver? Are you nervous at all, or do you think that like, oh, I'm ready for this, like physically?
Sure, yeah. I was, scared to death. It's I know how to wrestle. I know how to take care of myself. And being around the Deans and wrestling, those guys for so many years, I knew how to take care of myself from the guys that hooked you and tried to take advantage of. They could take advantage of and stuff like that. I knew, but I had no idea. I had no idea what being in the ring and what a wrestling match. Yeah. I mean, I saw it, and other people. And guys would come. Oh, you're not smart yet. What do you mean I'm not smart? Yeah. But yeah, I had no clue. I had no clue.
Were your parents nervous that you leaving and going off and being trained by these full-grown men?
Oh, I doubt. I don't know. I don't think so. I'd kind of broken in on my own.
Okay.
Yeah, they started the motel business. They were in an apartment business in Santa Monica.
Oh, okay.
My final year of junior college. And I'd moved back to Hawaii after that by myself. So they didn't really know I was going to Vancouver on the phone, conversation and stuff. So it wasn't like I was leaving home. I was pretty much out on my own at the time. Well, I picked up and got myself to Vancouver.
Do you remember walking into the gym to train for the first time?
Oh yeah, sure.
I don't
know the first time, but I remember the place. I remembered first time in the locker room is an old it's a suburb of Vancouver. Westminster or West something or Surrey or something like. Yeah, it was just, and all the boys in the locker room, and they're this guy's kayfabe over here, and they're talking, and then finishes and coming in, and this guy just worked with this guy, and then they're thank you, and then I didn't. And then when Monday that Saturday, I went to the gym, and Bud Rattel, but he passed away, but he was he's an old wrestler, and Bud Rattel took me in the ring. There's in Western Gym on there was the main street in Vancouver. There was a real rugged street. The drunks and the people were hanging out there. But the Western Gym, they had a ring and they had a gym there. So Bud Rattel took me in the ring, showed me 5-6 things, and I was in the car, with Bulldog Bob Brown at noon on my way to Portland to do jobs on Portland TV. My first match in the ring.
Wait, that quickly?
That quickly? Yeah, I didn't have the luxury of NXT or mid Ohio or Florida. Steve Kern, one of his trainers, didn't have that. Just did put their shoes, bing, bang. There you go. I don't think I even had wrestling boots at the time.
Oh, really? And you had never been inside of a ring prior to that first day?
Well, at the Pacific Auditorium and stuff. And with no people,
Yeah.
Never in a match.
Were you in pain after your first day? Or sore?
No. I was, worked out. I worked with an older fellow, Jack Bance.
Okay.
And my first day was with Tom Andrews, who just passed away recently. He was the Claw in Portland, and he was over really big. And I was with him, and he was partners with Beauregard, who was a big card over here in Hawaii, or a semi-card, but a big character here in Hawaii. He did an album and did a lot of. Hawaii was really advanced ahead of its time. Guys were doing Beauregard was doing musical albums, and they were doing singing on TV and skits, and Johnny Baran was coming out of coffins. I mean, we were talking, 40, 50 years ago.
Okay.
And these guys, it was as off the wall as Vince is today at WWE. I mean, but in context, but it worked, for the cast of characters that he had. It really worked, These guys.
Was that on TV regular?
Yeah, they had a Friday night show that ran 2 or 3 hours. I'm not sure, but that was previously taped matches and of course the locker room interviews. And then they had a Saturday afternoon program, a studio program that ran. I think it was like a hour and a half, maybe 2 hour show where they did 20, 25 minutes of wrestling and interviews, and the rest was just promos, because they just had the greatest lineup of interview guys. They had King Curtis, Yaokea, Ripper Collins, Johnny Baran, Rocky Montero, and all the guys coming through back and forth from Japan. All the great talkers, all the great mic guys. Just just those 3 or 4 guys alone. Just a wealth of education. Just a learning. It's just like go to university.
So it's like you're in a car, with some other wrestlers, and it being, young at that time, could you ask whatever you wanted, and they'd say, "Oh, he's young, he doesn't know."
Yeah.
Okay.
They would go after you with that stuff in those days.
Okay.
That's there was a different atmosphere, and guys talked somebody earlier, I got it. You get into business now, you get into the big money and the fame and the TV and the movies, and to be a superstar and to be world famous and world renowned. Back when I got in, it wasn't the same thing. When we get it was like a love for the business. It was just you're a fan. You're a fanatic of sport. It wasn't you didn't have the great aspirations. I didn't think I was going to become Ric Flair or Magnificent Muraco. I didn't have the naturally. As you learn and grow, that grows in your mind. But what in those days, in the late '60s, very early '70s, that wasn't your primary motivation. To go to New York and to have TV specials and to do all that stuff and go to Europe and go to Asia and travel all around the world. It was a different motivation. It was a different feeling.
We're like the early days. Like, do you look back and like, oh my God, those were some of the most fun times I had in my life. Like being on the road and.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Well, you're young too.
Yeah.
You're young. You don't have a family. You really have no responsibility. So you're not. You're not handcuffed to the money.
Yeah.
To making money and to paying bill. You have no. You don't have a mortgage. You don't have, or if you have a
You
car
don't have a
payment.
cell phone bill.
Yeah.
Like, there's no internet.
If you got a dime,
Yeah,
and later,
totally.
later it became a quarter. But in those days,
Yeah.
all you needed was a dime, and you could call collect. But
I remember,
no,
I
there
remember
was
sticking my finger in the return of all like the payphones to find like a quarter to make a call.
Yeah.
So your first match, you have about what? You were taught about 6 different things before you got in the ring for the first time. And were you like taught a lesson with your first match?
No. I was pathetic. Oh yeah, I was just pathetic. I hitting the ropes and doing stuff. It wasn't. I could take a slam. I could do a couple of things. But it was an easy squash match on for Portland TV because they used to fly. And I thought it was great. It was give you $25 for transportation, called the trans back in those days. And I think it was a $75 payoff for the guys that came in to do the TV to put the top guys, the Claw, Beauregard or Lonnie Main, or put one of those guys over. So it was $100 and didn't cost you go down. So that was a big night. Later, find out later that was a big payoff. But as time went on, but I forget what the question is. But the expectations were there.
And have you ever since seen that first match? Like, was it recorded?
No,
in any fashion?
It's probably somewhere
on
YouTube somewhere. The old Portland wrestling from the bowling alley.
Did that squash match like give you confidence though? Like for a next match and.
Yeah, it didn't. Well, I was, I was so lost. I don't know if it was confidence or anything, but it was just kind of just breaking the ice. Of getting in the ring and having a first match. I didn't. There were no delusions of grandeur after that. I realized, how far behind, how lacking of any type of talent or any type of ability I had compared to anybody else that was around there getting squashed or doing whatever. I was just I was lost in the snow.
Were you able were you able to get like any offense in, or were you just jobber?
Yeah, I worked with. It was a small territory. I was in Vancouver, so and Kovacs took me around, and I was worked a lot with Jack Bence, old cowboy Jack Bence. He was back. He worked carnies and stuff.
Oh, wow.
He was a platform diver. He did all kinds of stuff. He was God, he had to be in his 50s when I was working with him. He was an old. I worked with Jack a lot. Guy Eric Froelich, Big John Quinn was there, but he was I was doing jobs for him. He was a main eventer. Of course, Bob Bulldog Brown. I thought he was a great worker up there in Vancouver. I guess he had a bad reputation around the boys from Kansas City, but I don't know why. As far as work and talent, he was exceptional.
So along the way, are like the veterans like critiquing you or giving you pointers or giving you advice, or you're just kind of on your own?
All of the above.
Okay.
All of the above, everything. Yeah, they were never all the way. Excuse me. All the way till to my AWA days. They were, real. They were always, and even that. After I left that, it was still, they'd still, but well, then I got into Roy Shire's territory,
Okay.
where everything, you're always, you're always critiquing before and after the match. So it was always but that wasn't as so much a helping thing as it was a curriculum for the territory. But guys were back in those days. It was like I say, it was a different time, different era. People didn't. Your head wasn't in the clouds so much. So people were really more than willing to to help you and what you did wrong or what you did right. Naturally, there's going to be not everybody's going to like you.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, whatever you're going to do, not everybody's going to think you're worth a damn. So
my wife, for example,
by and large, the majority of the guys, I'd say at least easy 90% of the boys are all always ready to reach out and help you. And you should have done that, or you missed that spot, or you're rushing, you're going too fast, or you went too slow. They were always and
so they were looking out for you.
Yeah, and as far as I know, most of the guys breaking in, or most of the new guys were willing to accept criticism.
Okay.
It wasn't what the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking? Who are you talking? Who are you talking to? What are you talking?
Yeah.
As far as I know, most of the guys, the majority of the guys were I'm Roddy Piper when I remember he was breaking in.
In Portland?
Way before Portland.
Okay.
Down L.A. and Texas, Dallas and L.A. and stuff. He was always, what do you think about this or what about that?
Oh.
It was always open for criticism, always open for critique, always open for improvement. And that's you can tell all the guys that were successful. Ric Flair.
Yeah.
Ric Flair. I'm sure a lot of people. I didn't spend a lot of time with him. Going up. I'm sure. He had his own impression that he was locked in on Buddy Rogers and that Nature Boy thing. I'm sure the people he was around, Wahoo, and Paul Jones, and the guys he spent a lot of time with, learning and wrestling and growing up with. I'm sure they were, they never hesitated to step up, and if something was needed to be said, they were never bashful to say anything.
Did who would you say? Let me back up a bit. At what point in training are you working on like promos? Is that part of your training?
No.
So how? Because I think like today they spend a ton of time outside the ring, like in the TV studio, working as. What was? Yeah. Was there an equivalent to that?
No. Like I said, I went to the Harvard of promos. I was in Hawaii here. Gene Curtis, Ripper Collins, Johnny Baran, and Lord Blears, all these guys that if you said hello to them, get ready because you got an answer. I mean, and an entertaining answer, I mean, so that was so just listening and following, and and people, and then later on going. So because by the time I'd gotten to AWA, and I hadn't been around a lot then, I'd done some promos in Hawaii. Real generic baby faced. I love it.
Okay.
Happy to be here. Thank you. Just a lot of, but in the back of your head, I had Ripper and I had King and I had Johnny B and on all the other guys that had come through. So I really didn't do promos even AWA when I was in AWA. Didn't do a lot. And then I went to Florida and I started doing the babyface. Well, Roy Shires. I went to San Francisco first, and Roy had his hands on everything.
Okay.
So he take you in his office in Sacramento where the TV is, and you would go over, and you'd probably run a 3 to 5 minute promo.
Okay.
So like you and I, we have a bull rope match, or we have a strap match.
Okay.
And it's on Saturday, the 9th of December, and it's at 8:00, and we're in the Cow Palace. All, boom, we're gonna get this. We got to get who you're. You got to get that it's a bull rope match. We're gonna bring it in. And you'd highlight all the points that he wanted in there in the time, and then but he wouldn't try and change your personality. He wouldn't alter your personality. He'd let you your own personality come through, or your own ideas come through. But he would, when I first started doing the promos with him, and then later on, he kind of let me run with my own promos. But my second time through, but he would start, and I remember that, and it was everybody, Pat, Ray, Peter, everybody that was in the territory. We'd go into his office, and okay, you got this match coming up Saturday, and you're in a bull rope with the bell, and it's a 2 out of 3, or it's as many falls, or whatever it is, and run down it, and didn't matter who it was, he'd run it through. And so when you got out of there, you kind of had a structure for promos.
Oh, okay. And who determined, like, if you were going to work as a face or a heel? Is that up to you or the promoter?
Well, kind of. You kind of you feel it after a while. You come into the territory. Well, first of all, you got to know who the territory. You're going to the AWA. Vern Gagne is the world champion, and he's going to be the world champion. So if I go in there, I want to be a big bad heel.
Yeah,
sure. Unless I'm around and I'm a Wahoo McDaniel.
Okay.
Or I'm an Indian, or I have a gimmick that's not going to, that where I don't need a title, but then I sure as hell want to be there. I sure want my share of title matches, but I'm an Indian. I got my headdress. I got everything. I don't need a belt. I have all this other stuff, that would only detract from what I already have. So, but if it's like me, Magnificent Muraco, coming into territory, I want to be a heel because I want to end up going around with Vern or whoever the champion as a single.
But
if I'm a young guy going in and I'm learning and I want to get better and I want to, then I'm happy, be a baby face and be in a tag team and be knocking around. If I'm, if I look like Ox Baker, then I got to be a heel.
Yeah. Totally.
There's no choice.
I'm sorry that I'm skipping ahead, but I'll come back to this in between stuff. I wanted to ask you this before, time ran out. Is it difficult to retire?
Well, yes and no. Your body tells you.
Yeah. Is it mentally though hard to?
Well, yeah. You even not so many when you first, especially when you first get out. You look and you look at the crowds and you see the people roaring. You look at these sellouts of the Garden or sellouts of Meadowlands or all these WrestleManias and stuff. And you used to be there. You know what it's like, and the high that you're on. So at first, it's not as hard as Ric Flair is making it.
Yeah, totally.
not as hard as Ric's, man. But Ric is a different character, man. He loves the spotlight. He loves being there. He's always loved the business. I broke him in. I was out at Gagne's ranch, and it was him, Iron Sheik, Greg and Jimmy Brunzell, Bobby Bruggers, and Ken Patera.
Wow,
those are the six guys out at Vern's barn, out at Vern's farm. They were training in the ring out there. And Billy Robinson, he'd take the guy, Billy Robinson, get him, they'd 500 squats, run the lake 2-3 miles, 500 push-ups. Then they take an old hooker, George Scarpello or Danny Hodge, or one of those guys that get in there. Okay, wrestle this guy. Well, you can't, you can't even stand up, much less wrestle, a world-class hooker or shooter. But that was the way it was. So that's those guys used to love it when I was there by myself because we would work. I couldn't stretch anybody. Like I can't even stretch my underwear. So so I would get in there and I would work. One tackle, drop down, hip toss, turnbuckle. Punching, little kicking. And nobody squealed on me. And nobody, because if Vern knew, they would have caught hell. Everybody would have caught hell. You're doing what? You're working a regular match. So that was.
You're like Greg never said anything.
Yeah, nobody. Even Greg. Yeah, nobody. Well, Greg didn't. Greg enjoyed the days off himself. Everybody.
I bet.
Everybody enjoyed the time off when I was there. Because they got to do matches. We got to work matches.
Yeah,
tag, take all your bumps and
with really good talent.
Yeah, and they got to.
I'm going to ask you some quick questions. I'll fire them at you, and just a few. Nothing controversial. Toughest wrestler you faced on the road?
Boy, toughest? I have this question on my in my podcast, Making Waves. Like were the Japanese, were they tough on me? Are the Japanese hard to fight? Or Harley Race put the big squeak? I never had a problem with anybody. I never had trouble. I'm sure I had a lot of stinkers for matches, but I never had a squabble or never had a problem with in the ring with anyone. And I went there. My whole purpose was to put asses in seats. It wasn't to be the toughest guy in the building or the toughest guy on the block. It was just to entertain and to make the fans, get the fans screaming and either make them happy or make them mad. It wasn't, and that was for the majority of my career. That's only I know there were tough guys outside the ring. I know Harley was tough. I know Haku was tough. I know there were a lot of they're the ones that I go on Facebook now and read about all the time. But there's a lot of guys, that a lot of guys didn't even think about. They were solid, rugged guys. But nobody, it was a lot of respect. Everybody pretty much respected everybody. Everybody was fast. And it wasn't a dog eat dog like it is. There were guys. There were guys sneaking around the office and stuff. That there always are, regardless of what business you're in or what profession you're in. Back door, but I never had a problem with anybody. I thought all the guys, everybody I wrestled was a tough, rough.
Yeah, I guess everyone has to be. What was your favorite venue?
Madison Square Garden.
Okay, that was easy.
That's what everybody knows. It's hard to beat even those 100,000 seat arenas and stuff like that. It was just the whole thing going to the Garden. Walking down. Coming in the back door, up the elevator, and all the especially the heels, all the security guards, all the security people all know you, and they're all, with the baby faces, they're not so. And if you're there as many times as I was, you know all the security and all the cops and everything else. Hey, what's going? I was with fam, I was this, I was with wife. But they're a lot of the buildings. All the buildings back east were exceptional.
Would you
Spectrum, Philly and Hartford, and then even out when you get out west, SeaTac Dome and L.A. after a while, and San Diego. They're all good, but the Garden is just a Garden.
Would you wake up on the morning of a show at the Garden excited because that's where you were performing wrestling?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Biggest practical joker you've come across?
Who's what?
Biggest practical joker?
Yeah, I got to be Fuji.
Okay. Is it true? I heard Jake Roberts tell a tale. Did Mr. Fuji like to relieve himself in people's shoes?
Everywhere.
Oh, jeez. That's crazy.
Everywhere. When we were in the Middle East. Let me tell you, when we were in the Middle East, there was little guy, shortest guy, had all the white stuff, and we went out to the UAE countries. So we were someplace after. I think we've been in Kuwait for 4 or 5 days. We'll totally drive it anyway. We got to Abu Dhabi, and there was a bar and music and stuff. So Fuji pissed on the guy's robe. So the guy caught him. He went flying out. He was mad as hell.
Oh
and we're in Abu Dhabi. So we had Bahrain and 3 or 4 more towns. I don't remember how many before we got to the last UAE, which was Doha.
Okay.
And this guy was a good guy. He was good to me. I had a big, boss, how about a gym? How about a workout? And he'd take me to workouts. He'd find me a gym, or he'd find me, some weights or something where I could train and take me, he was cool to me. So we land in Doha and we get out and this black Range Rover drives up and he's got a submachine gun on his dashboard. They have down south. They have with the round current thing, and he's got a 9mm strapped to his waist. And he gets out. He's got 5 stars on his shoulder, and that's the guy Fuji.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
He was there. It was the last night, so we're dying. And so it was the last night, and we're getting ready, and everybody's dying to go. We're been in an Arab country for 2 weeks, so you're just dying. You're dying to go back to the U.S. So we had to get out of there. We're trying to rush the matches a little bit. And he ran and he said, no, nobody leaves. Anybody leave now, go early to ring. Mr. Fuji goes. The Fuji's eyes were red. He was so mad. This guy took over. One guy did try to go early. We called him 7-Eleven because between 7 and 11 at night, he'd always have a sore elbow or sore knee or something where he couldn't, he couldn't work. But they wanted Les Thornton to put him over. And Les Thornton, forget this guy. He wants the belt, let him take it. So the guy took off his boots and walked out. On his way out of the building, they arrested him.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The guy was powerful. He was a 5-star general, all right.
Jeez.
No. And he did he said, don't worry, the plane will be there. And he held the plane for us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was nice.
He did exactly what he said.
I have to ask you this. Was it fun filming Land of 1,000 Dances? Or was it
hardest
pain?
Work I've ever done.
Really? Why?
Hardest work I've done. Maybe I have a couple jobs down in the dock since then, but 2 lashing jobs and some of the Tuesday lashing boats we used to go back on. The lash back for Sealand and stuff, but that was at the time that was the hardest work I'd ever done. We the first day we started it was up in Poughkeepsie where we did TV after the Allentown Hamburg experience. So it was up in Poughkeepsie. So we started the day before doing something, just like a to set up and where you're going to stand and where you're going to be and stuff. So everybody went home pretty late that night anyway. And then we had to be back at like 8 or 9 in the morning. And everybody lived in, it was Poughkeepsie, so everybody lived 2-3 hours away.
Yeah.
Then went home. So we got back the next day at 8 or 9 in the morning, and we went from there all the way till 9 or 10 at night, up and down. You to do those music videos and stuff, you don't believe how many takes. It's like doing a regular movie. You don't believe how many takes they have, and over and over. Everybody singing their part. And dancing and moving around in the artificial smoke. It was a trip, yeah.
All right. So I'm going to ask you a question. One of probably our youngest member of Pro Wrestling Junkies, he's 9 years old. His name's Steven Spice, and he's had a very big challenges, but he's tougher than probably anyone I know. So he sent in a question that I'm going to ask. He said, who are 3 wrestlers, either from your era or present, that you would have liked to have faced in your career?
Oh, I just wrote about one yesterday, Bruno.
Okay. Oh, you never faced? Oh.
No. I wrote. He did a couple shows with his son. I think he worked with Piper and Paul and maybe Bob.
Uh-huh.
But I know like I said, I was involved in either Intercontinental or I had a different angle or something going on at the time. But I did work with Buddy Rogers. I worked with Rogers, and then another one be Valentine, John, the father, Johnny.
Johnny, yeah.
Yeah, because after I came back into Florida the second time, they just had the plane crash. And
okay.
And he had been wrestling before that, and that was it.
Okay.
And easily the third would be Thez. I never got in the ring with Thez.
Mm-hmm.
So JV, Bruno, Thez, and JV.
I have one more question, and this is from Johnny Poda, and he wanted to know if tie-dye was your idea or Superstar's idea.
That was Vince McMahon. Superstar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you have any choice? No. Okay.
No. The powder blue tights and the powder blue boots and the and the tie-dye was all that came from a higher source.
Yeah. Was it like an honor being put on the main event at Survivor Series? Like being included in that, with those 10 guys?
Sure, yeah. It was like all the big cards, all the to be a player.
Yeah.
A major player, and what's going on, and it's always, that's what you work for. That's what that's what you strive for.
Do you own or at any point owned your wrestling figures?
No.
No?
No. They're all I don't produce them. I guess if I made them or my name or something.
But never those little LJN ones that they put out, like the rubber ones.
Yeah, no, I have nothing. Yeah, I get residuals and.
Oh, okay.
I did a signing yesterday.
Oh,
where
okay.
Guys find them, and I sign them, virtual signing and stuff like that. But
cool.
I don't. I was down the docks for 25 years. I was a stevedore, and I was a stevedore. Then I became graduated to a wharf clerk.
Oh, really?
I was. I spent the last 25. Been retired over 4 years now, but I spent the last 25 years down the Honolulu docks and down at Barbers Point.
What was harder?
Working on the big boats.
What was more difficult, working at the docks or pro wrestling?
Well, at different times,
And one thing was fun.
The dock, yeah. The wrestling was creative and imaginative and generic, and you got to do it in the docks. But the docks was a good life too. It's. I'm very grateful. I have my insurance, my retirement, medical, dental. It's one thing that pro wrestling doesn't offer you.
Yeah, which is crazy.
But the nature of the game.
All right, Don, I'm going to let you go in a moment. Can I ask you 5 wrestling related questions? They're basically yes or no questions.
Whatever you like.
Okay. Since you've retired, have you performed a wrestling maneuver on anyone?
Grandkids?
Okay,
count?
That's fair enough. Yeah, of course. I would have been shocked if it wasn't someone from your family. Okay. What food are you ashamed to say that you eat?
Oh. I got to where I like sodas now. Fried chicken, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love fried chicken. But,
all right.
I eat a lot of chicken anyway. I tell you, rib Fuji played on me.
What?
When I first got back, it ended up being a rib on him. I stayed. My wife and I and my daughter was just an infant, so we stayed with Fuji when I first got into Connecticut. So talking blah blah blah. You know how you ties. I said, I love chicken. I can eat chicken every day. Just talking out of my rear end.
Oh no!
Didn't you know?
Oh, no.
So, Fuji being Fuji, went to his wife and goes, Connie, make chicken every meal. So she made, and I'm not paying attention. I'm grateful she's cooking, you know. I'm living in his house. She's making different, she's a Southern girl anyway. So she's making fried chicken and barbecue chicken and different kinds of chicken. It was great. It didn't, it didn't bother me. I didn't even notice it. So we get at the end of the week, it would come to the end of the week, and my wife stays there. So we leave the wives and kids behind, and we fly to Pittsburgh. So we used to stay at the Hojo. I don't know what it is now, but the Howard Johnson right by the airport there. So we go into the Howard Johnson to eat. So I get the obligatory clam chowder, and I go to order, and I order some type of chicken. God damn, he throws his menu down. He said, "Don't you? I told Connie make chicken every day. You come here and you eat chicken again." I'm sorry. You know, I guess he wanted me to order a hamburger or something.
Yeah, but you hadn't picked up that she was making you chicken for every meal.
No, I didn't have a clue. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
So it didn't register to me. You know, we went out to lunch and stuff.
All right.
Okay, go. I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to say that he fed you like a cat or something. You know, like strange, weird dog.
I was around when he did that too.
Oh God, geez, that's a whole other episode. Have you ever seen a cat give birth?
A what? Cat give birth?
Cat give birth?
No.
Okay.
Oh, give
Neither
birth.
have I. Yeah.
No.
Neither have I. Is there anything that your wife doesn't know about you? And you don't have to say what it is.
Sure, probably lots of stuff. I don't know. I imagine,
yeah. It was honest. And then finally, for $3.2 million, would you publicly disparage the state of Hawaii and move away forever?
3.2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he has a lot of money. I don't know what the.
You could move somewhere. You could move somewhere really nice still. Just might lose some friends.
Yeah, it's not. I love Hawaii. I love my home, but
but I love $3.2 million too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I could do with it.
Totally. Don, thank you so much for talking to me for this last hour. Wrestling has been like everything to me, and I always consider it like another father to me. And you know, I grew up in the 80s and stuff, so you guys and you especially have done a ton for my life, and you made a difference. So just wanted to thank you for that. And again, thanks for coming on. I wish you well.
Well, thank you for having me, and aloha to all my fans out there and all the people that get this podcast or this interview. And thank you for all your support all these years.
Before you go, your podcast, where can we hear that?
Oh, every Thursday, Making Waves, Don Muraco, Magnificent Muraco, with Avi Klein, Making Waves, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 o'clock noon in Hawaii, and everything else. So I imagine it's 4 o'clock where you're at in the Midwestern times. Yeah, so podcast every Thursday, and we've got a whole slew of them to run all week long. And my boss Ivy, he can sit there for about 90 seconds and go down each and every one of them and take his breath. But we got a good crew. Mike Drosy, Duke the Dumpster, Ray Lloyd, Del Wilkes, Paul Roma, and myself. We each have a day.
Nice
Doyle. Yeah, we each have a day that we have a podcast. So we have a good crew and something different every day. And we try fantastic. Not to belabor, go over all the depressing news that you have daily. On the TV.
Okay. Good. All right, so there's a good reason to tune in to that. All right, Don, you take care, stay safe and healthy, and we'll talk again.
All right, brother. Aloha. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Best regards.